Howdy. At long last, it's time for some Combiner Wars, starting with Leader Class Ultra Magnus. No, he doesn't actually combine with anyone. Same goes for the other leaders. It's just for simplicity's sake. Though to a lesser degree than Thrilling 30, this subline continues the trend of bringing IDW designs to life. Take 80s G1 Magnus, stylize him in both modes, make him less square overall, and you have how he looks in the More Than Meets the Eye comics. It still works as a classics version, given they share the same silhouette, with the shoulder stacks, missile pods, and head sculpt. Above all, G1 Magnus is always depicted as a buff, powerful-looking soldier/commander, and in that respect, this figure does not disappoint. I don't normally comment on things like scale, cause, let's be honest, it's never going to be perfect. But alongside some of the deluxe foot soldiers, the leader class works surprisingly well for Magnus, and it was probably the best size for them to work in his main gimmick. More on that shortly. With a combination of swivels, hinges and ratchets, Magnus is fairly posable, and with these huge boots, he's not toppling over anytime soon. In addition, these hinged panels on the shoulder guards allow his arms to move all the way out. Less so if you plug in his signature missile pods. Magnus also comes with two guns, which he doesn't hold onto very well since his hands merely grip the weapons, they don't plug or slot in. I hate it when they do this. Several alternators have this issue, even when the hands have pegs, which these don't. I mean, if you just leave him, it's all good, but it doesn't take much for them to fall out. His accessories can combine into a hammer, in reference to animated and prime Magnus, which he wields a bit better since the slots on the forearms catch these flanges on the handle. Like almost every other version of G1 Magnus, what you see before you is actually a mech suit. Body armor. You get the idea. But what really makes this IDW Magnus is... hang on. Spoilers! Okay. Is that the bot within is not some white repaint of Optimus Prime. It's this guy. Minimus Ambus. Those comics are full of surprises, believe me. All things considered, this is pretty comic accurate. For one thing, even at this size, Minimus rocks the stash. The white plastic makes it hard to see the other sculpted details, but at least the colors are correct. He has 6 points of articulation, and that's really just so he can sit inside the Magnus armor. Speaking of, the interior is filled with control panels, vents, seats, pedals, and even joysticks that Minimus holds onto. Without him, Magnus is left with this gap around his neck, which from a distance isn't so bad, but close up it's pretty obvious. According to the comics, Minimus turns into a Cybertronian minesweeper, whereas this resembles more of a hovercar. And that's pretty much all there is to it. It doesn't roll, not that I'd expect it to, it's just a solid block. Takara's Legends Ultra Magnus will repaint this little guy into Alpha Trion. Kinda cool, if slightly nonsensical. Just like the titanium toy I reviewed a while back, the cab doesn't detach during transformation. But rest assured, the vehicle mode looks and holds together worlds better than that figure ever did. In any case, the robot parts fall in roughly the same place. Most of his body is the lower deck, his legs turn into the rear of the trailer, and his arms form the upper deck, which as always looks totally safe. No impracticalities whatsoever. It's the G1 car carrier truck, or car transporter, depending on where you're from. All those sharp, wacky details, particularly on the cab, give this a very futuristic vibe, like a lot of the recent comic designs. The cab itself can turn left and right, and it does retract, but, well, when I said it doesn't detach, it can't. You could unscrew it from the trailer, but I wouldn't risk it. For added play value, flip down these white panels to form a ramp for the lower deck. For the upper deck, disconnect it from the rear and fold it down. Said trailer can carry various deluxe, scout, legends, or cyberverse vehicles. Exactly how many will vary since Hasbro have been shrinking things over the years. There are several 5mm ports for you to store his weapons. This is the way I have them displayed, with the missile pods at the front as they usually are. Sadly, there's nowhere to properly store Minimus since Magnus's head is now tucked inside the cab. No minicon pegs, though where they would mold a port on this guy I don't know. Despite all the countless repaints, Combiner Wars has really spoiled us with updates that, up until then, were mostly third-party products, and Magnus is no exception. It's also a fun toy on its own, and a great addition to the More Than Meets the Eye cast.